Shalini and Oz, I am so happy to be here with you today. This podcast episode has really been a long time coming. Shalini, you and I have known each other for years now. I don't know, 3, 4 years. And we connected first on Instagram, and then you joined Aligned Attraction, and we'll get into that story in a moment. And I'm now getting to meet your beloved Oz because he is the man you called in while you were inside our mentorship program. And today we're here to hear more about your love story because honestly, when I think back to witnessing you on your journey, this love story is such an exquisite one. And I'm so happy that we're getting to talk a little more about it today because it's really, really inspiring. So, both of you, welcome.
Thank you. This is this is a kind of a interesting timing too, because a year ago, we became official, like to the date. So May 5th.
May
Sorry,
2nd.
May 2nd. May 2nd.
We go by the day we met, which is the day after his birthday.
Uh-huh.
And so we're already past a year of
Yeah.
that, but he asked me out exactly today, a year ago.
Oh my God. I remember you telling me that in text messages, and I'm like, what are the chances that we would be recording a podcast about your love story on your anniversary? Happy anniversary.
Aw,
Thank you.
we're so happy to celebrate it with you here.
Yay. What a great way to celebrate. Just really getting to gush and dive in and relive and recall some of the most pivotal moments in your love life.
Mm.
Yay. Okay. So I really want to start from the beginning because Shalini, I know some of your background, but I want to know from you first, um, who were you and where were you right before you called Oz in? I want to get this account from both perspectives as if we're watching a parallel story of your lives right before you meet.
Mm. Yeah. The biggest thing was this has been really big, but I only wanted to be with a partner who I knew would be the man that I would raise kids with, who's my husband. And so for a while, I was celibate, like for a very long time. And um, I started nursing school eventually in 2021 and had encountered, went back into dating and met a lot of people in the apps, met a lot of people organically. And I just knew that there still needs to be inner work that has to be done because I noticed that I just wanted to just feel more love and excitement for my own life instead of just relying on an outside partner to fulfill that for me. Like, I just knew that that had to be the biggest goal. And I just found myself realizing in, like different dating situations and a different relationship that I was in that I just don't feel aligned. And why am I staying in these type of relationships and kind of like letting it lengthen? And so over time, like I decided to just sign up for the Align Attraction program and to work with you. That really was such an initiation to radically reassessing am I to myself? Am I being the most lovely partner to myself? Am I the partner that I want to date? Am I holding myself with utmost unconditional love when I want to cry? When I feel like I need to take up space? Do I have a boundary? I didn't respect my boundaries much. I didn't let them come into existence. They were just kind of like in my mental realm. But I just grew up as the person that just wanted peace with everyone on the outside world because I'm afraid of putting people down. I'm afraid of people being unhappy with me. And that's part of my childhood. When I worked with Leonani, I had received so much wisdom in knowing, wow, this game of self-love is really, am I showing up to myself and honoring my needs and checking in with myself constantly, checking in with my boundaries. What do I like? What do I want in a person? How do I want my day to be? How did this interaction go? Can I really just sit and just listen to myself with radical honesty instead of multitasking and being on the go? And when I did so much inner work, um, and had eventually um, just came into more of that beingness that I loved in myself, I just found myself realizing that I loved myself more and more. Like it was just a constant romance. And eventually, the biggest thing was leaving a relationship that wasn't aligned, during nursing school and taking time off from dating and eventually meeting Oz, who really was the person that I've been searching for. Like the man who is my best friend, the man that I just love to laugh with all the time, the man that I just love to travel with,
Mm.
my man that I could just tell all of my crazy things in my head or my narratives that projects, or like little Teresa, which was previously my old name from birth. Like I feel like I could really be with you, even when I feel uncomfortable. Like even when we still have our own little hiccups. Like I know that because I felt safe in myself, like automatically I just so happened to find such a wonderful man that mirrors that too. And it really had to be through, am I being that great partner to myself? It
Wow.
really does come back to selfhood. And like life is really just a mirror of who you are inside. And I'm just really grateful for the program for like constantly um, reminding me of that.
Poignant. Wow. I feel like we could make a course out of what you just said because that's it right there. Really poignant and I'm just so happy for you. I remember just hearing about different parts of your journey as you were going through each of the chapters and to just witness your ease, like the ease that I'm seeing in you right now, and the grounding and the security, and also like the confidence and love that's emanating from the inside out. Of course, you would attract someone that would reflect all those things in you, and that would also be an energetic and emotional match for that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks for letting us into your inside process.
you.
So, Oz, I'm curious to hear from you. Like, what was happening for you in the months leading up to this? Because I know that you had given a lot of thought to who you wanted and the kind of person you wanted to be with. You'd made websites and I think you had some
Yeah,
sort of challenge or incentive to have people help you find your partner. So, tell me a little more about that. Like,
totally.
bring us inside the brain of Oz.
Such a great story.
Yeah. So, um, one way that I realized my like how I show up in this world is an optimizer. So I definitely have that aspect, and I like to write and experiment with things. But I think going back to relationship, like who was I? Um, I think a very similar theme of recognizing that I kept running into similar patterns with dating. And then um, after the last relationship that I was in, I made a promise to myself. I was like, okay, there's no more like just kind of getting into a relationship and just falling into one. And the next relationship, I want it to be my last. And just having that conviction. And it became more of like a North Star, a guide, a mantra. And so when I was dating, I would ask myself, I would really try to ask myself long-term questions, similar to what you were saying. Like, do I see myself raising kids with this person? Like, can I see this person being my wife? Can I see building something with this person? And so it definitely took practice to like adopt this mindset, but constantly ask myself that um, through um, through all the like the relationship scenarios and dating scenarios. And so I think that part of that was also like adding playfulness to my search for the one. And so not an original idea, but I had basically copied a friend who put out a dating bounty or a marriage bounty, which is like, it sounds like exactly what it is, which is if you introduce me to my future wife and we end up being in a long-term relationship, getting married, like there would be a monetary reward. And but what I found the most fun about that was like activating my friends and community because it was just like a fun thing. Like all my friends, they wanted, I think it was about the energy of putting it out there and also making it fun because of
Mhm.
course my friends want me to meet the one. But when I put it into this like playful game-like terms, they were like, "Oh, you're really serious. Let me like pull out my phone right now and see who's like, you know, who'd I know." So, I think that part of that journey, there was adopting a more long-term mindset and having that conviction. That was a very big part of it. And I think another part of it was like, I want to date my way because I felt like, oh, the only ways to date are like in these clean buckets, right? Like you have to do this and you have to do online dating, you have to do speed dating, whatever it is the advice that gets out there. And I think I just wanted to unlock the energy within myself, which is like, let me just like play and add that element of play and experimentation. Because even if I don't necessarily meet someone through those means, I'm just at least making the process more enjoyable for myself. Yeah.
And you made that date me doc that was so descriptive
Yes,
and
wait, bring us into that. I was going to ask. Bring us into the Date Me
Yeah.
doc because we were talking about that around the same time
Mhm.
in the program when you came across Oz's Date Me doc, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
meet Oz from the Date Me doc. I actually met him online. But
Uh-huh.
weeks into us dating, you're like, he was telling me, hey, um, just so you know, like I have a matchmaking program and a date me doc, but I'm unavailable. But I just wanted to let you know this is out there before finding you. And I read it and I loved it. And like I was trolling him and decided to like send my own request in to him, finding more for myself. Like, hey, there's this girl, Shalini. She likes deep walks or deep talks and walks in nature. She seems pretty cool for you. Like, you guys should go
Yeah.
out. And it was just
Yeah,
like
that was super fun.
it was just so fun to like see all the awesome effort that you put into just finding your person. And the Date Me doc was just so like attractive because you knew what you wanted and you put so much thought thoroughly into like what you were seeking.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give us
for
an
the
overview of like what a Date Me doc is and then tell us about yours.
yeah, so it's like kind of like a mini online trend where people would create their own online dating profile that they get to control. So oftentimes it's a Google Doc. Maybe that's why it's called a Date Me Doc. And so um, I think part of putting together a Date Me Doc is that it's outside of the confines of a normal online dating profile where you have to fill things out in a
Mhm.
certain way. And it could really be anything that you want in there, kind of like your own resume in a way, like your own dating resume. But for me, I thought the exercise alone was super helpful, like regardless of who ended up like if no one reached out to me through the Date Me Talk, it was still a helpful exercise because it was one part iterating on the document of like, okay, what do I want to put here? That's like truly what I want. because why would I lie on this thing? You know, is my approach. So it's like I want the opportunity for someone who could be the love of my life to see me honestly and be like, yeah, actually that sounds like, it aligns and I get a sense of who this person is and what they want.
Mhm.
And then the other half energetically was publishing it and just putting it out there and sharing it with my friends. I'd be like, here's my dating doc. And it was fun because they didn't even know that like certain things about me, like they learned, like my friends, they're like, oh, I didn't know that um, you were so serious looking for someone. I didn't know that these are some of your hobbies and interests. So again, like connection and play was
Mm.
part of it.
That's so good. I think it's mind-blowing for probably a lot of people to even hear about this idea of a date me doc and what kind of self-reflection process that actually inspires. What was it on his doc, Shalini, that stood out most to you when you saw it? Obviously, you'd already met him, but then you saw it, and that was a new level of clarity or getting to see him or experience him. What really stood out to you?
His goofiness and also how serious he was about finding his person. Like a man to write like 3 pages of detail of who he was and what he's looking for, and describing like, oh yeah, like I do want kids, and I would hope that you would want kids too. And just being like extremely like honest in saying, I want to settle in LA. And well, that's what you said. And um, that was just like so beautiful that he had so much clarity. And also, when I just read it, I'm like, wow, I actually want these things too. Like, and I had already met you, but to see all of this was like, yeah, I think we are a really lovely match. Um, and also his goofiness, there is just so much funny, quirky photos of you, like in a costume.
Oh.
And I thought that was just like really funny. And it showed just like his silliness, like his passion for philosophy, his passion for financial independence and financial knowledge, um, your love for traveling. Like it was just so thoughtful. And I think that just made me feel more pulled to deepen my understanding of you more. And
Mm.
I think also for you to take dating so seriously to find your person, it made me feel like, wow, I feel like Oz would actually take this relationship seriously if we started something.
Mm. Yeah. And I think the cherry on top for me is that the date me doc is tied to the matchmaking program that I put together, meaning that like someone can just like apply to it, like with a Google form. It's pretty silly. But it's like, oh, of course the love of my life would be like have the sense of humor to like apply to it herself as she's dating me. So I remember seeing the notification and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Shalini. And she like included all these like cute, goofy photos of herself and fun descriptions of what made her like a great partner. It's like, hey, of course you would do that. Yeah.
That's so sweet. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Like to really feel met and seen. Like I feel like you guys got to really see each other in that and feel met by each other. And I'm witnessing you both in it right now. Like I can't stop smiling because it's so sweet to witness your love and how you two look at each other.
Hmm.
It's really, really special.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah. So, okay, you guys met, you started dating. This is that point in time where so many people are kind of like, all right, I just started dating this person. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if it works out. Hopefully, we continue seeing each other. I really like them, or whatever, right? There is this period of time that is just uncertain before a deeper commitment is made.
Mhm.
And there's a threshold that we pass between still sussing each other out, seeing if there's potential for something and deciding, oh, there's potential for something. I'm going to remove myself from the market and I'm going to eliminate other options and just focus my attention here. So, what was it for each of you? And this might be something that happened for you internally and how you related to yourself, or something that happened between the two of you, or what you witnessed in the other person. But what made the biggest difference in crossing the threshold from casually dating, might be dating other people, we'll see how this goes, to okay, we're gonna do this for real.
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, I was, getting to know other people, but I just knew that it didn't feel aligned, even though they're incredible people. But I just love the idea of just going out and getting to know people. And so eventually, when we had matched online, um, I was actually a little busy, and I also felt a little bit of like dating fatigue, or at least like online swiping fatigue. Um, but I just love that when you sent me a voice message and I got to really hear him and his share and his questions, his share about his travels, a part of me just felt like, hey, like it seems like this is a person you would actually like to have a conversation with, like a fun friend. And my goal for dating is to find my partner who I love and feel desired and can raise a family with, and to create, like a very extraordinary, unique life with, but also who's my best friend. Like someone who really, really is my best friend. And the first date came by, and um, it was just so much fun. Like we had met in Long Beach. I actually got like a or not parking fine, but I was pulling out from the driveway and I got a ticket from the police officer. He fined me for something so little, which was I was doing it legally. I drove out of the driveway. He complained that I made a U-turn, but it was like a V-turn. And I argued with him and he ended up like, yeah, not fining me, but it was like I felt so rattled that morning, and we hadn't met yet, but we were still texting a lot. And I'm like, you know what? Like, as a woman who just wants to enjoy life and enjoy dating, I'm going to ask him out. And so I asked you out if you wanted to go out for a meal that evening. And you immediately chose a place that was like down the street from the workshop I was attending. And I told myself, okay, only stay till 8 p.m. because the next day I have to come back and drive 40 miles to go back to this,
Same.
Psych K workshop that I was so excited about. And gosh, time went by too quickly and it was already 8. And I'm like, all right, like, I know we'll have a second date, but I got to end it now. Um, and I told myself, I'm not going to let this man kiss me or get intimate with me too quickly. Like, I'm going to cap it off for at least like a long time until I feel ready. Like, so no kissing. Not gonna let him kiss me.
Thou shall not pass. she she summoned the spirit of Lee because she literally said, "Oh, I'm in this dating and intimacy program, and something I'm working on
Is knowing
from
my
that,
boundaries and
yeah,
like,
and taking time."
yeah, taking time, wanting a person to love me for me and not the spice of a kiss, not from the spice of intimacy, not from affection. I just want someone to be so like just to enjoy me for my personality and for who I am. And that was one big thing that I wanted to work on. And yeah, that first date, like you ended up just kissing me on the cheek. We went on multiple dates later, and a part of me thought, if you're still seeing other people, I'm going to be okay with that because you're not mine and I'm not yours. And we are in a stage where we are meant to meet as many people as we wanted to. And I told you that by the fourth date or fifth date. And I felt so mature sharing that because like I like you so much, but at the same time, I knew you deserve your freedom since you got out of a relationship. Um, and so that was just so beautiful to quickly just settle that unattachment and know this is a really lovely person and you deserve to really get to know yourself in dating and to continue collecting that data and having all those experiences. And eventually we just kept going on more dates. And by the time we went to Joshua Tree, like that was when we had like our first overnight time together and spent so much time together, like car rides. You met my
Road
mom.
trip. Yeah.
Yeah, you came over and picked me up. So you had a quick conversation with my mom, and it just felt so right.
Yeah.
And that was when I knew, like, wow, like there's something very special here. And I just want to keep diving more into it.
But by the way, there isn't an earthquake here. It's Momo. It's just like rolling around. Yeah. I sometimes love to give unwarranted advice. So I'm going to share something great that she did for anyone who ends up listening to this, especially the ladies. I thought what she did on the first date was very unusual in a good way, where she was able to balance saying her own boundary, I'm not ready to kiss yet, but I'm interested in you. Because I think oftentimes that interaction can break very easily. It's like a black and white where it's like, how dare you try to kiss me? And that's like maybe the end of the interaction, or I might have been like, oh, I'm so sorry and scared off, but it was still warm and inviting. And it was just more of like her communicating, hey, this is the pace that I'm walking. And I would love for you to join me later down the line, but this isn't me like rejecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's my I was very like delighted by that,
Mm-hmm.
by that approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and, or
Yes
no,
and.
and,
Yes and yeah.
which was one big
Mhm.
thing that Lee always kept reminding us during the program is like, hey, you could honor your boundaries, but you could still make it flirty and like still invite the other person to feel loved and accepted.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was definitely a very beautiful practice. And um, yeah.
I think you literally said something like, "Oh, you don't kiss me now, but maybe in like 30 days." I was like, "Oh, okay. All right." Something like that.
Okay. Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm like laughing, I'm crying, all of it. Okay, so now I have like a two-part question for you, Oz. One, I love that you loved that about Shalini on that first date. I imagine that there are people who would have a different response to a statement like that, whether or not they had the patience or willingness or desire to walk at the pace that the other person was walking. What was it, whether it's a belief, a thought, an idea, what is it that comes up inside of you that caused you to appreciate that?
Mm. I think it was clarity. Just hearing something clear and true from you. Like when you said it, I know that you meant it, and it was still coming from an energy of like warmth and welcoming and it almost like thank you for your attempt, like thank you for your interest. And so there was definitely reciprocity
Mm-hmm.
in that exchange. And um, yeah, I think that it's very important, especially in modern dating today, for men to really be aware of boundaries and consent. Um, so I think that was already like in the back of my mind. It's always like, yeah, of course, you know. But I think for this particular um first date, it was like also like seeing a vision, like seeing a path, like the fact that she mentioned like, oh, maybe in the future. we could kiss, or perhaps like many dates from now.
Mm.
Um, it was really nice to see like where she wanted to go and then like where I want to go and those paths converging.
Beautiful. And what was it that made the biggest difference for you in crossing that threshold from, okay, casually dating to we're we're definitely going to focus here and we're going to get serious about this?
I think the underlying feeling for me when I like really sit with it is comfort, and one word that we share with each other is range. Like one of our values in terms of why we connect to each other, and also even with like our good friends. Like what makes good friendships for us is this aspect of range.
Mm.
Like we could have emotional range, we could have intellectual range, where we could joke about the dumbest thing, but then also go like really deep into like spiritual talk. And I felt that range with her. Um, like there were definitely moments that I feel like accelerated those things. Like for example, going on our first road trip together to Joshua Tree. But I think zooming out from that trip, it was like it was because we got to experience each other's range. You know, we got to sit in the car together. We didn't get lost in Joshua Tree, but we were, you know, trying to figure out plans and doing logistical things and like yeah, in the space of a road trip, you really I think your range reveals itself or gets tested, and I just felt so comfortable with the how much we're able to share, and it felt very natural. Um, I like alliteration, so I think how like I don't show everyone like my goofy side, so I think that being able to be with Shalini's presence, where I told her like the alliteration part is at some point I told her I feel like I could be a king and a kid with you. Like I feel like I could really, you know, be in my masculine and protect and watch out and plan and do the things that, you know, make me feel good in that aspect. But then I could literally put my head in her lap and she could stroke my hair and make me feel really safe. So, you know, that range is just like, wow, like this is like the only person I could see myself like really being long term with and who I feel so comfortable with.
I forgot to mention that you goof danced a lot too.
Yeah. That is like a first for me. Like, you know, just being so comfortable that I could just like make up the most random songs and do silly dances, which I even my closest friends, I'm not sure if they've even really seen that, but just for those things to come out and feeling like so appreciated by her, and she would join in with her own funky dances. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God, you guys are awesome. So awesome. Like I think mostly this episode is going to be you all sharing your story and me just gushing about your relationship and like feeling so happy for you. It's truly such a testament when a couple can experience that kind of range with each other. And I think Esther Perel has a quote that may or may not be completely accurate, but it's something to the effect of, uh, my husband and I, or I've been married 5 times, all to the same man, because of how much they have changed and how much range they've had throughout their marriage, that it feels like they've had 5 different relationships.
Mm.
But they go the distance with each other. They have that range. And that's to me what the essence of like full spectrum humanity is having our hardest moments, our lightest moments, our silliest moments, our deepest moments, like getting to go through all of life together. It's so special when we find and well, really when we become the person that we feel that way with. Of course, naturally we attract someone like that, but it's really just such a special experience to have.
Mhm.
I'm so excited for both of you, kid and king. That one really lands.
Mm,
Mm. Beautifully
Yeah,
said.
thank you.
yeah, truly. Okay, so now you all are a year in. And you've obviously had a number of different kinds of life experiences together. You have seen each other in vacation dating mode. You're doing day-to-day life together. Um, you've gone through joyful times, you've gone through hard times. What are some of the things that you both feel are, and this might not be the right word, we'll see, your success strategies or your principles and values that are like battle worn, they're tested, they stand up, and they hold the relationship every time, no matter what's happening? Like, what are your non-negotiable things that are just the way you live that has caused you both to create this kind of love?
Mm.
Success strategies. The first thing that comes to my mind is um, when we have disagreements or conflict that test us. I think it's just having this deep feeling and sense that we'll come back to each other, and that, you know, a lot of things are temporary in terms of like the emotional charge or output of something, and really just having that trust in like, okay, I know we're gonna like come back to each other.
Mm.
um so I think that's, like every time that, like any couple, we have fights and disagreements,
Mhm.
but I think that is something that gives me a sense of like strength and resilience in this relationship, is like knowing that ultimately like we want the best for each other, and um just like kind of coming back to that,
Yeah,
and maybe more will come out as we share.
I definitely like agree wholeheartedly. Like, I think when we come across our own hiccups, and I get stuck in my own narratives, of course, and like I experience anger. I just feel like I want to detach. I'm that person that kind of has like emotional paralysis. And Oz is that person that really likes to complete and resolve that conflict as soon as possible. But I feel like I need to gather my thoughts and gather my emotions, that I shut down and I avoid.
Momo's eating me. Sorry.
She loves you. I tend to delay resolution, or at least I'm not as quick as you. And when I kind of like go into like that little tunnel of feeling like, oh, like I feel overwhelmed, like I'm scared of you or either of us detaching. What if this relationship will change after this fight? What if we won't feel like that same love for each other? Like just all of these subliminal, like negative thoughts that I'm sure a lot of people experience when fights happen. Because, yeah, Esther Perel would say people think love is like a chronic state of enthusiasm, but the more I realize that it's
Mm.
not, it's always such a wave and a roller coaster. Um, and I could say we have so much chronic enthusiasm for each other, but like we also have so many moments of like when we disagree, when we fight, when you're angry with me or I'm angry with you. Um, and the biggest thing was just reminding myself, and we had shared, is our relationship is built on love and safety. Like, always remember that as home. And after every fight and every beautiful resolution, like love and connection and safety has always been the thing that we always felt again. And because we've had a whole 1+ year of being together with all of our lessons and our hiccups, like the more we fight, the more home I feel with you for some reason.
Mm.
And as much as my head could think like, oh my God, like we're never gonna be the same, like I'm scared if you're gonna think me of a certain way if I speak to you, or am I if I'm blunt or I confront to you about something, or I'm scared if I share this insecurity, you're gonna think of me a certain way. And after I shared with you radically all of my own shadows, I only feel met with love. And that only allows me to like feel more and more safe. So,
Yeah. Um, I have a lot to speak to that now, but Leah, I'm not sure if you were
No, I mean,
jumping in.
I'm just reveling in what is arguably the most profound experience a human can have is feeling deep safety in themselves, but also in a relationship with someone else. And I think that's that when we go to reach for things or form addictions or use coping strategies, I imagine that in most cases it's because we don't feel that. We don't feel that deep, secure attachment, either to ourselves and or to another human being, particularly a romantic partner. And you're both of you are just describing with such sweetness that you've created that together. And that's my greatest wish for any human. And to hear that that's what you have and that you've created such resilience in your relationship because of the inner work you're each doing as individuals, that the third entity, the relationship, actually has the capacity to hold both of you. And that's really special. That's like the most special thing ever. So that's my remark. But Oz, I want to hear what else you wanted to say about that.
Wonderful reflection. Um,
mm,
yeah, when I go back to that phrase success strategies, I think of like what are things that feel like tools that have helped us get out of sticky situations or help us navigate. I'll start with one thing that's personal to me that's much more basic is that I know that when I'm in a state of whether it's hunger, lack of sleep and energy, and just like the very simple basics, like when I can try to catch that, I think that helps us a lot. Where it's just like, do you need to take a nap, bro? Or do I need a snack? Or just like, let's go for a walk, like change the energy up. And
mm,
sometimes realizing, like, wow, like I hate to admit it, but there's been a lot of times where it's maybe we've gotten into a fight or I come off in a way that I don't want to, and it's simply because of the state, like the current state. And I think but both of us are good at calling that out or shifting the energy. And then I think the second thing is that we, you know, on the theme of range in terms of what we could talk about, I feel like we could really kind of go into the meta and kind of like psychoanalyze each other um, in terms of like knowing what our programming is like. Like we both talk about our inner children a lot. Like there's a pattern that I have with like my mother growing up, and there's a pattern that she has had with her parents, especially her father growing up. And so kind of knowing that and having that self-knowledge and being able to talk through it from that angle, I think helps a lot.
mm,
Like not as a way to put labels or boxes on each other, but being like, oh yeah, this way of being is influenced from something.
mm,
And we could also things shift when we look at it from that angle.
mm,
Yeah, so much. I mean, just to know how our past informs our present and how it can potentially inform our future when we're not necessarily aware of how those early childhood relationships formed our views of love, dating, sex, and then relationships in general. There's a concept that we probably talked a lot about in the program called repetition compulsion. And it's the phenomenon where we recreate the same pattern over and over again. And for us, the person who's experiencing the pattern, it seems like we are either stupid or we're going crazy. But we just don't know how we keep attracting the same kind of person or doing the same kind of thing, even though we swore we would never do it again. And it's the subconscious mind's way of helping us become aware of the pattern itself. Because the less we listen, the louder it gets. And the louder it gets, hopefully, the more we see it, and the better the chances we have at actually resolving it. Because our mind is always tending toward evolution, consciousness is always wanting to evolve. And so, repetition compulsion is this idea that we would take all of those primary imprints from mom and dad, whoever else, and we would then project that onto our next closest attachment figure, which is usually partner, and we would play all of that out again and we would make partner dad or we would make partner mom or maybe both because there's something from childhood in that dynamic that wasn't resolved. So we attempt to resolve that with our partner because that's our next attachment figure. And when speaking to your point, Oz, where having that self knowledge really helps bring a different perspective to the table, it also helps like with so much compassion. Like I imagine knowing how the other person grew up and what some of those hard dynamics were like allows you to have more compassion for Shalini when something hard comes up, or allows you to have more compassion for Oz. Like Ani knew that I had really, really deep abandonment and neglect wounds. And sometimes that would cause me to show up in ways that wasn't my prefrontal cortex adult brain, but was something way earlier that was playing out that I was repeating so that I could hopefully resolve it. And it takes a really particular person to become aware of that for themselves. And it also takes a really particular partner to say, I want to be that person with you who can be here with you while we work through this. And that's so special. And that's what I see you all have created with each other. And that's the thing, like when we talk in these vague terms about generational wounding or ancestral trauma or being the one who decides that the trauma is going to end with them. It's this kind of stuff. Like, this is actually when it happens in those hard moments when we're projecting mom or dad onto the other. And it looks like it's real. It looks like our partner is the villain or like we are the victim or whatever it is, only to wake up and realize, oh, this is a projection. I'm in an illusion right now. And I can wake up and actually see the truth. And that's when you have those, I don't know, what I think of as sobering moments that you all are describing, where you realize, okay, they're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. There's going to be love on the other side of this. There's love right now. We come home to each other. Like, that's the truth. The illusion is it's his fault, it's her fault, whatever. And so, just really kudos to both of you for having so much self leadership that you lead yourselves in that way and you show up to the relationship in that way. Because I imagine, I don't know what the sibling experience is, but you probably are the ones in your family who are ending the patterns. And if you ever decide to have children, like those patterns aren't going to get passed on. They're going to have a completely different set of perspectives and opportunities with two parents who are deeply in love with each other, who are affectionate, who are loving, who are playful, who are deep. Like, gosh, I mean, I can't even imagine. I want to imagine what that would feel like for a child to have secure attachment with both of their parents. Their parents have secure attachment with each other. And there's just so much love. Like, how does that kid experience life and who do they go on to be in their lives? That's really special. Okay, I'm totally future pacing for you guys, but
Love it.
that perfectly segues me into the thing I'm curious about next, which is like, what's your vision going forward? You're at the year mark. I'm sure it feels like you've actually done lifetimes together.
Mhm.
What is in this current or next chapter for you all?
Oh, I feel like something's on the tip of your tongue.
I feel like we kind of have a big plan, all thanks to the Excel sheets that you made.
That's very romantic. We got to hear about this after.
But we definitely feel called to being parents in this lifetime. There's just something about the service of like caring for children and to raise them and to see their evolution, it has always just been a calling. And we know how different it is when you don't have kids versus when you do, especially seeing all of my coworkers having kids and so much of their lives have changed. And so we made it a big vow that in the next 3 to 4 years, while we don't have kids, we're going to live our dreams that we've always had a craving to taste, whether that is learning Spanish in a different country or living in a commune and seeing what it's like to farm or to do seva in a community that um, has a mission, whether that is holding ceremony, holding retreats, or living by nature and living in different countries, taking a break from working and just living financially independent as Oz has been wonderful and really helping that for me. Um, and also just continuing to deepen our biggest value of connection and community. Like what makes us love LA is because of the people. And we just want to keep radically pouring more love and attention to the people that we met here and the wonderful people we will meet in the future. And plus, our family is here too. And as they're currently alive on this earth with us, like we just want to radically spend as much time with them as much as possible. And so Oz created an Excel sheet showing what to do for each year, whether that is like a travel plan or by the time I'm currently 27, almost 28, but by the time I'm like 30 or 31, I'm really going to take my fertility like test and like prep for that he as well. And so like a certain year, there are certain goals that, like you had explicitly listed. And we also have
Yeah.
like a life love list. So on our Apple Note, it's shared. And so anytime we have this desire to like go see a concert or have an adventure or go kayaking or to see a town, like we put it in our bucket list. And it's categorized by like activity, by restaurants, by new hobbies, by new towns, travel. And then we have like the upcoming months, like what we plan to make it into fruition.
Yeah, I think what's really been fun to do is lifestyle design. And I, I think when it comes to like the vision for the future, you definitely talked about like the big pieces that we are looking forward to, like community and having kids together, and like we definitely like see things in our future. And and I think part of the challenge and fun of designing a life is like kind of working backwards. Which is like, all right, what does it mean to be in community? And what does it mean for like us now with our schedule? Like, can we still do something that serves other people and serves us? And I would say it's an ongoing challenge, like, um, but it is exciting to kind of like bring it to the day-to-day level as well. Um, and about the spreadsheet thing, um, because I know a lot of people do not like spreadsheets. That whole conversation started out with me wanting to check assumptions that we kind of loosely talked about, because I think like it all started when I was like checking with Shalini, like, hey, I know we're both interested in having kids. I think you said around this age is like maybe like the latest that you would wait. Is that correct? You know? So it was about like 3 to 4 years out from now. And then um as like an optimizer and someone who is like anxious about the future, I was like, all right, like hang with me for a bit. So I know you've wanted to do some of these things, like potentially consider school, which would take up about 2 years. So that's one thing. And I'm going to support you in everything. And if kids are this time and we also want to do this, where's the time for that? Where's that going to come from? so that's where I really want to like work together on like, okay, I think here are some of our assumptions in our life. And I think part of it is like, um, I love these two quotes that are in opposition of each other. The first one is like, make plans and God laughs. And then the second one is failing to plan is planning to fail. So like they're both true at the same time. And I think it's more like we have a vision, but we're holding it in a flexible way.
Mhm.
Like if we have kids in 2 years instead of three, it's not the end of the world. That's actually a joy, right?
Mhm.
If you end up changing your job and deciding that you don't need school or you want to go to a different program, that's also okay.
Mhm.
But I think that we just find a lot of fun in kind of dig into like, okay, what are our assumptions about like life going forward?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. I love those quotes. And honestly, I think it's a really intelligent thing to do because we can look up and before we know it, 5, 10, 15 years has passed and we've been in a similar cycle. And I really do think that one person planning their own life is an interesting enough conversation. And then you bring two people together, there are exponentially more things to consider, potentially more complexity, but also more inspiration and joy. It does require planning, it does require these conversations. And it's nice to have enough of that structure so that flow can happen in between and iteration or pivoting can happen in between. But I think that pivoting only feels safe for both people when there's actually a structure around it that helps give it some shape and form. So I really enjoy how you guys think about that.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
Me too.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so you're dropping the great advice and wisdom. What's one piece of advice that for whoever's listening you would give? And this could be one piece of advice. It could be a wish or prayer that you have for those listening. It could also be the thing that made the biggest difference for you.
Mm.
I have one that feels like kind of hot and fresh off the press of like we were in deep conversations yesterday. Um, I think I would categorize it as self-knowledge. And um, let me get my words. So I'm a big fan of we were actually both big fans of Mel Robbins right now. And I'm listening to like the let go theory or the let them theory. And um I think in terms of self-knowledge, it is really helpful for me to know how my brain works and what my tendencies are. So knowing like, okay, in a lot of areas, I'm more of an optimizer. I could make myself anxious in this way. I could, overthink and overdo in certain areas. And like, I think knowing that, my original frame before was like, all right, cool, that's something to fix. But now it's been more like, we had a fight in Mexico, and then at the conclusion of that trip, or of that disagreement, it felt very freeing to say, you know what, like I am gonna be judgy sometimes. I am gonna be kind of like having, like I sometimes do lecture, and I'm sorry about that. Like, but kind of recognizing that that is my nature, and she recognizes like you are gonna do that sometimes. You're not gonna hurt me, and I know you're gonna try to evolve in your own way, but
Mhm.
there's something about recognizing one's own nature, my own nature, that feels very freeing in this relationship. And just instead of always being in a frame of like, I'm not enough and I really got to fix myself to be in this relationship, I feel like I could actually like grow in
Mhm.
this relationship.
Yeah. I feel like I will, like, when you have that pattern and that behavior of wanting to help or to organically share, like, your what you want to share. Um, I had told myself, that's just Oz. Like, I can't force you to not do that. Like, I like consent. I like people to ask for consent if they wanted to provide advice, but by nature, you love to do it so organically. And I I just know that you just want to help. And in the future, I'm gonna continue like when I have those moments of um wanting you to ask for consent, like I still will ask, like when I feel comfortable. And so we've just come to a place where we realize that we're just going to allow each other to just be freely ourselves in these behaviors. And even when there are hiccups or we're like having friction, we know that we could just reflect on that interaction. And
Yeah. And by the way, you created a great middle ground for us where I am really trying to practice when I really want to say something, like, can I make a suggestion? And asking that first, it is a struggle for me, but I
yeah,
love how you introduced that in our
yeah.
container. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are speaking very clearly to something I see a lot of couples experience, particularly when there is polarity inside the relationship and someone's occupying the more feminine pole and someone's occupying the more masculine pole. The masculine penetrates. And I don't mean sexually, although yes, that happens too, but the masculine the vision that I have in my head is like there is just such a clear vision, and the essence of masculine energy is to cut through illusion. This is sort of like Lord Shiva, or just like cutting through illusion and getting to the truth on the fastest path possible. And that is like the direct path of consciousness. And that can often feel very jarring, especially if we weren't expecting to receive that sort of feedback or that advice. And this was a struggle for Ani and I for a long time. Because Shalini, you know Ani very well, right? You know his personality. He has a very straightforward way of speaking, and he doesn't typically sugarcoat things, even though he's very emotionally attuned. He'll sense where someone's at. But if he sees something that can benefit and help improve my life, he wants me to know about it because he wants the best for me. And I had a hard, hard, hard time with that for most of our relationship because my narrative was if I was getting feedback, I'm not enough. I'm fucked up. I need
Mm,
to change. I need to fix myself. And so that pressed on a very deep core wound. And a lot of the time, I would try and change him. You should be nicer. You should not offer such cutting, sharp advice, this and that. And he was like, well, have you ever considered really looking at the wound that this is touching on when I offer this to you and going there first before trying to change me? And that shifted a lot for me. You guys are already very self-directed in that process. But I see that happen often because when a man is really in his masculine energy, he's going to see things. And he's going to see things that sometimes we don't see. When we think of this from an evolutionary perspective, the men were the hunters and gatherers. They had to see long distances to see where the buffalo was, miles out. And so they were constantly looking far out, long distances, sort of into the future. And the women were grazers, foragers, and we would be looking down at the ground, what is right here, right now, what is present, and with diffuse awareness, okay, what's happening with kid number one and kid number two and kid number three and this other person's kid, and I'm still foraging. And that's, I think, why we sometimes women seem to be a little more proficient with multitasking than men sometimes, because we do have this diffuse awareness to be thinking about the kids and other such things.
mhm,
And so sometimes, not always, but sometimes our sight is a little more focused on the present, what's here right now, whereas masculine sight, sort of conceptually speaking, is focused on long distances and considering every single thing that could happen between now and then and how it's going to impact the family. And so when a man is really dialed into his masculine energy, he is going to see things that we don't see. And when a man's also really dialed in, he's going to say it because that's the truth. And I'm sure, Oz, you deliver it with a lot of finesse. But I do love that. Okay, yeah, we get better with time, Ani's really worked on his delivery as well. But I do love that there is such a pure embodiment of masculine energy on your part in that. And again, I'm sure you refine it day by day. And Shalini, such a pure embodiment of feminine energy, which is receptivity, receiving, and allowing for Oz to be who he is and loving him unconditionally
Mm,
and being the space for him to feel safe to be himself. And of course, both of those things go both ways, but it's just really beautiful that you all are so naturally in a role that feels good for you both, obviously with a lot of versatility available.
mm. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that is just really helpful to hear, like
Yeah.
from another person and another couple.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can totally relate with you, Lee, because I think before, like when I was receiving your feedback, like it did touch my wound of feeling, wow, am I doing something wrong? I feel judged. Like I feel like you perceive me as inadequate. And over time, if I keep just asking you to just not give me feedback, like for instance, I cut my finger the other day and you didn't share what happened or you didn't like intervene because I was going really quick. We were like making sauerkraut. And in that moment, after like cutting a piece of like my skin off, I thought, wow, like I did need your help. And that is one example of why your organic feedback really comes from a place of love. And there's something about me that has to realize that yes, delivery can make me feel a certain way about it. I could sometimes shut down like my own narratives of how I see my adequacy like comes up, but just reminding myself that you care about me so much that you're willing to share and you're willing to help intervene. Um, and so
Mm.
that's one thing that I'm definitely working on in this relationship.
Oh, I love that for you. Be-
Delivery. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that for both of you. I love that for both of you because the masculine sword can be sharp, and sometimes we get to refine the blade, and feminine receptivity. Like what I've come to realize as a woman who's with a very masculine man who sees things very clearly and sees people very clearly and has seen a lot of my patterns before I ever wanted to admit that they were there, is that the greatest gift I have given myself is, I mean, I don't have no better way to say it, but allowing myself to be penetrated and getting to feel everything that comes up, every pang of like cringe, every ounce of pain, like every whatever it is,
Ding.
every sting, because there's so much information in that. There's so much self-knowledge in that. Like, oh wow, he's showing me somewhere inside of myself that I'm not free yet. There's something that's still like kinked up in the hose of this part of my being, of this part of my consciousness. And his words are simply illuminating that. And for most people, it's tempting to make the other person the enemy because they made me feel this way or they always do this thing. But really, it's such a beautiful invitation to say, oh, thank you. Great teacher. I can see where there's somewhere I still have a deep wound that I haven't spent enough time with. And now I get to do that. What an opportunity. And it's a radically different frame to show up to a relationship with. And, I can see it's what you guys are doing. And it's what made the biggest difference for me. I, in being in that same practice, Shalini, I feel so empowered as a woman that I can show up to my relationship now with many years of practice with so much grace and poise and elegance that Ani could literally say anything to me. And I have so much practice with being in an internal alchemical process with my own emotions, my own narratives, that I can look at him and say, Thank you for sharing. Like, I really appreciate your perspective. I might not even agree. I might think
Mhm.
he's crazy, but there's just such an ability to receive. And I think for probably for all women, that's the greatest gift we can give ourselves, that we don't have to constantly be hyper vigilant or rattled by every single thing that's happening, that we can be just like this big oceanic body of water where things pass through us and we also create the right boundaries needed, but we're just unperturbable. And as such, we're really receptive. And it's a joy to be around someone who's really receptive. And it's also a joy to be around someone who sees things so clearly because we feel seen. So I'm really excited for you guys that like these are the things that you are actively exploring and embodying in your relationship. Like next level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautifully said.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Okay, so as we wrap here, is there anything else that is on your heart that you want to share? Anything that you want anyone who's out there listening to know?
My piece of advice to give to any couple is keep dating each other. Like the person that you're with will always be growing in their evolution every single day, and to just continue enjoying that curiosity for each other, doing new things, and doing your own check ins with yourself. Like, what do I need? What do I crave and desire? And what I love about our relationship is that we have our monthly reviews, um, and like life review. And so we take turns like planning our dates. So recently, like within, I think a few days ago, like I planned our date to my favorite Italian restaurant. And a month before, you planned the date at a different restaurant. And that provides us like the sense of being taken care of. It's like something very special that is our love language. And it doesn't just have to be eating, but it could be like an activity or like painting at the park. And we kind of just come together and reflect how the month went by and how the relationship felt between us, or what we needed more from each other. Um, or if I'm going through my period and like my hormonal like fluctuations, like I might feel very sensitive or have a lot of mood swings, and I'll just let him know like, yeah, I think I'm going to be a little more sensitive in this week. And sharing about goals of career and like what we want to accomplish. It's just like a whole endless journal, whatever gets to be that heart share that can be shared and felt and received. And I think that's what keeps our relationship like so strong, is that constant curiosity and the constant effort, and just like the constant laughter and the joy of just wanting to spend time together. And I only hope that every single person, whether you're looking for your partner or you're spending time being celibate and really evolving your relationship with yourself and finding that endless love, abode of love within yourself, or you are a couple that just wants to deepen your relationship with each other, may you just tap into your most beautiful
Hmm.
authenticity, and knowing that you're born so loved
Mm-hmm.
by all the caretakers in the delivery room, by source, by your parents, um, and just feeling that cup always overflowing,
Mm.
and just being able to, yeah, just have that radical sense of home with yourself first, because it really truly makes life and love and all your friendships so beautiful. And yeah.
Hmm. Oh,
Oh,
yay. Oh my gosh. What a joy. I I feel so energized right now and so inspired by both of you, by the love that you've created and the work that you're doing on yourselves and the joy. just the pure joy that you get to experience. So, thank you for spending time with me today and also allowing people to be inspired by your relationship.
Mm.
Thanks for the wonderful questions. And this is like a great space for us to reflect on our relationship, you know,
Yeah.
a little bit more than 1 year in now. So thank you
Yeah.
for the space and the questions.
Such a
Yay.
cool opportunity to connect with you and just relish in your energy and also just allow us to connect deeper. Like we're so thankful.
Oh, anytime, dude. Anytime. I love this. Yay.